Welcome to the video today. We're looking at bass loops and how to create your own library from one original idea. And in this case, this is the original idea we're starting with. It's a audio loop. So it's got a really nice tone. It's played very clean and it loops nicely. But that's all we have at this moment. How do we take this one audio loop and now create potentially an entire small library of performances from this one performance? So the first thing we need to do is open up EZBass. So I will do that. Just grab an EZBass, a new one, and put it in underneath. And we got that right underneath our original loop here. And we can extend that open. And when you open a new EZBass, you can go up to Audio Tracker because we're going to record this audio loop into the new EZBass session here. And all I have to do is on the original audio that you want EZBass to hear, just go to Inserts in Cubase and Tune Track Audio Sender down here. And that will put it on an audio input that EZBass can see. You can turn that off for now. Now EZBass, when you go record audio to DAW, that audio one input down here, EZBass already has that installed and is ready to go. So just extend out your loop segment here so it'll play the entire thing. And hit, if we got it on so we can hear it, yes. And we just press play in our DAW and EZBass will record it. And that's it. Bass audio, yes. To MIDI, yes, that's what we want right here. If it was guitar, we could pick here. And if it was percussive, we could pick it here. And I'm leaving everything on just so it's picking up everything and we can edit coming up. So click yes. And now the performance is a mixture of the original audio loop and the new MIDI that it just created. And if we draw this out a little bit, see the entire performance. Now we can listen to the mixture, or we can just listen to the new MIDI that it recorded. Let's make sure we've got the loop set up back to where it was. And now this is going to loop, extend that loop out. Now to make sure that we're not hearing the original loop, turn that off so that's muted. And now let's just listen to EZBass. Now, immediately you can hear that it's a different tone of guitar, a lot softer. This original loop was probably affected and with a little bit of distortion and amplifiers, so it's grittier and it's probably compressed a little bit. But those are all things we can do in EZBass, and or we can put an insert on this track. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to clean this up. And we're going to effect it so that it's loud enough, plucky enough, and a little distortion so that it's as good or better in tone as the original audio. All right, so let's just say that it's picked up the performance good enough for us. We could change things at this point. We could move things up or down. And if there were issues and some, if the notes weren't done correctly, this is where you would change any initial problems you had with the recording into EZBass. But if everything looks pretty good at this point, we can just say add MIDI to the song track. We hit that. And now we go over to the grid editor and we now see we have it. If I make this a little bigger, we now see our performance. I'll stretch it out. And now it's on a MIDI grid performance here. So let's... And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a little time to make it a little, well, first of all, we can go from our clean DI to something maybe more deep and bright. So now the tone's getting a little bit, and if we go to the bass guitar section, we can start, beefing it up a little bit and just crank everything up, because to match the recording, we're going to want more, things affecting this original EZBass. Starting to get a little bit more presence and tone. So back to the grid editor, and right now I'm going to just make a few changes. I'm going to add a few things that may work, may not work. I'm going to test a few things out. So we might go from there to there and add a little slide. We might do the same thing here. I'm going to try a bunch of things, and then when I come back, I'll have the performance that I like. So now we have the loop a little bit cleaned up, or we may have changed a few little things, but generally it's the same performance as our audio loop. And if we listen to it now with through a bass amp onto the insert of that EZBass, to give it some grit, to amplify it, and just to do the normal stuff, a little compression and whatever. And also changed it from just the regular guitar, but I changed it to the firm distortion pick, and probably modified, turned up a lot of the original dials here. We could add a little more pick attack. The original has a lot of pick attack in there, but that's all up to us now. So let's go back to the grid and listen to it. So now we have a much more beefier, little compressed and amplified version. Let's listen to the original. So I'll turn EZBass off, turn the original back on. All right, so that's what we had in original. And again, just for reference, this is what we have now. So we're in a very good place now. Now that it's been reconstructed inside of EZBass, we have the entire power of the EZBass software to do whatever we want now with this original performance. So at this point, a really good thing would be to make copies of this line, this performance here. And we can just select everything here. So we select this, make sure it's highlighted up here. Hold down Control and just pull out a few copies, and now we can start to make a whole bunch of different variations of this performance in any way we want, really. So we'll keep this original one here, we'll move to the second performance, and we'll move the looper there also, and we can just get it into loop position. So if we go back now, we'll start at that loop position. And now we're all set to listen and make changes to this performance. And I'm just going to drag it out and move it into position so we see the changes we're going to make here. There's probably a better way to do this, but here is the loop. So this is the performance that we're going to be making changes to. And it's great because then once we do make changes, we can just listen beside the original in context. I can drag it out and play one loop beside the other, and you can hear the transitions. So now it's just a matter of taste of what you want to do. You can do it manually. You can make changes manually. You can say you wanted to maybe do a little bit of a bend up there or a slide up into there. You may want another slide down here. And it's just a matter of going through and creating all kinds of variations. You could do manual tools and have control over every note, meaning you can have, what type of note is played. how it moves in and out between notes, slides, bends, whatever. I'm not going to get into all this, but you have all the tools available and all the automatic tools. And what we'll talk about next is also we're going to have access to all the groove libraries with the replace MIDI feature. So let's look at, let's just go back to the grid editor and just listen to our first change here. And immediately I don't like that change there, but I'm going to make some changes I do like and make a bunch of variations and then talk about what I did next. So before I show you all the variations that I came up with, I'm going to quickly just go over again how you would use the grooves, so the entire groove library to actually change and enhance and give you a bunch of different variations really quickly. So all you have to do is take your original loop, and let's go with this version here, clean one here, no changes to it. And we could say, well, how about if I wanted to listen to this? Now, what if I wanted that faster performance inside of what I have here, this performance? I would simply click on Replace MIDI, and now when I play that, and if I move the looper over it, it will take my original chords that my guitarist or my bassist was playing and just do this performance. So it'll... Let's just do that. And on the fly now, I can change and have these chords be played with all different kinds of performances. So let's just do that. Let's just say we like that one, for instance. Then you just say Save Changes, and it will save it. And then you can start making, you can take this that you just captured here, and then you can also edit that very precisely with every note in the editor, in the grid editor again. So there's limitless possibilities. Plus, if you mix in the fact that you can also reamp it in so many different ways, you know, you can see how you could make a library of loops out of this one idea. So we're going to look at what I come up with next. All right, so now what we're going to do is listen to the original and all the variations that I came up with. It took me a couple hours, and I just played around until I got a bunch of variations that I liked. I added a Superior Drummer track just to give some kind of rhythm in the background, some kind of beat. Sometimes the beat doesn't match up with the different breaks and things, but it's just to give you an idea of how you can start to move towards creating your song. So let's listen to the original and go through the variations. All right, so that gives you an idea of the actual variations that you can come up with inside of EZBass. In the last segment, we're going to look at creating those into audio loops and then seeing how they all loop in between each other. So to make an audio loop out of the EZBass variations that you've created, any one of these variations, I've just copied one here. It's very simple. You just select it and hit P, which will move your the looper over that section perfectly. And so you play it, and if I turn it on, so it plays a perfect loop of that variation. And but that's all within EZBass right now. And so to convert it to an audio loop, once you have this set up, the looper in the right position on your variation, simply go to Edit, Render in Place, and with current settings, and that renders it to a track in audio right underneath it, and it mutes the original that you had up here. And if you want to just unmute this now, just go to Edit, Unmute. And so you're back to where you started on that track. But what we have here now, if I just solo just what's in here, you'll hear, so you're just hearing the audio loop now of this variation from EZBass above it. So it makes a perfect audio loop of your EZBass variation. And it's so simple to do. So you just do one after another, and you end up with, you could end up with really quickly just a full library of all these variations. And the cool part is once you have all that turned into audio loops, which you may or may not want to do, but the fun fact is that you may not always want to open up EZBass and make sure it's set to the, you have to make sure the project's open to that original project. And then you have to make sure that it's all set up that the way it was originally with the right effects and everything on the channel, which is great because at any moment you can, if you do that, and always keep a backup of your original EZBass project, right? So that means that any time you can just come back and you can drag this original back into the timeline. And once it's in the EZBass timeline, you can, it'll be back in the editor. And if I can find it here, there it is. And then you can do all your manual edits again, right? But you have to make sure it's all set up with, again, the effects and everything that you originally had. And if you save the project, it will be. But there are times when you want these loops available for testing and throwing into another song really quickly. And that's when you would want to make just an audio loop, throw them into a folder, and so that at any time you can say, okay, I want... So I just drag that down to create a new audio, or a new track, basically. Now I can say, okay, I want the original. This is the original loop. I want that to loop once. Then I want this variation next. Then I want it to maybe play again. So I'll just copy that over. So then I have the original loop with the variation, original loop. Then a different variation, grab this one. And then maybe grab that one, and maybe have Superior Drummer play so that we solo that and turn everything else off. It allows you to just grab audio loops and play with them how you like, and just go back to the beginning. And I've got to make sure the looper's there. And maybe you want to just take half the loop and then have it go back to the beginning again. It doesn't mean you have to play the whole loop. So now it's just going to play that. So if we play it from here, allows you to just slice and dice really quick once you have your little audio library of the original performance. So that's the video. How do you take one original loop, bring it into EZBass, potentially create 100 variations, really nothing stopping you from making a full library of variations, and converting them to audio loops, and then you have 20 or 30 audio loops to go and to match perfectly with your original audio loop. And I didn't match it perfectly with all the compressors and that, but if you took more time, I wanted a more kind of driven and more amped version. But you could take the time and actually probably come up with really close to the tone of the original. And so that would give you the original performance and the original tone and 30 or 40 more variations. So now if you wanted to use the original bass loop for a song, you have chorus, verses, bridges, breaks, beginnings, endings, all in bass for your song. So EZBass is a great weapon to use if you want to create variations of your loops. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you on the next one.